go ahead and share my screen. We'll go through the slides and then jump back into the practice where we're going to work in Google Chrome. So I'll bring this up. The first thing to mention, and I will say this, I've talked about some of this stuff before, especially when we went through our first week with terminology, but just to dive a little bit deeper into some of these concepts. So it is completely safe to have your device remember your passwords. I think that some people, I definitely encountered people who have some trepidation around using that feature of saving the passwords. Usually when you access a site through Google Chrome and it's a password site or like an autofill password, you'll get a little pop-up dialog box that asks you if you want Chrome to remember your username and your password. And you can always elect no. If it's like a sensitive site that you just don't want it to save your password, perhaps for your bank or somewhere like that. But for the most part, especially something that's just like, oh, I don't know, let's say I want to check my Buckeye Health and check out something about my account there. This to me is not the most top secret type of place, and it's just easier to me to have the computer just remember my password so I don't have to go look it up. Along that same line, I'm going to give the advice to don't use the same exact password every time. I have a couple sort of general passwords, if you will, that I use, and then I do little variations on them from time to time for different sites. But I would definitely recommend that that bank password be something different than any of your other ones, just for your own security, obviously. And I've mentioned this once previously, but it's a really good idea to have a written list of your passwords and keep it somewhere safe. That will vary obviously from person to person, but it's a good thing to write those down and keep it updated if you make changes or when you add new sites. But just remember, for the most part, it is definitely safe to have your device remember your passwords. As always, if anyone has any questions, just jump in. I cannot see the chat right now or anyone's, little square because I'm looking at the presentation. So just jump in. Also, it is safe to use autofill for your name and address on your device. It is safe to store your credit card on your device. I know a lot of people balk at that. It really is. It really is safe. In Google Chrome, if you store a credit card, anytime you want to call that credit card up, it's going to make you put in the CVV code. On the back of your credit or debit card, there's a little 3-number combination on the line where you put your signature. And every time you want to use your card through Google Chrome, you will have to manually enter that CVV code. So even if, God forbid, someone were to break in to your account and access that, unless they had a physical copy of your debit or credit card and knew what that CVV code was, they're not going to be able to use the card. So it really is safe, and it just makes it a lot easier to do things if you store this information on your computer or device.
Rebecca,
Yes.
you said it's safe to store on your computer, your card. I've had it where I've made purchases and they wanted me to get a credit card and they asked me for my social security. I've also been asked for my social security number. at large box stores, and I will not give it out, nor will I give it out to any computerized system. So I'm just letting people know I do not get the credit card and I do not get the discount. But and I've read that you should not give your social security number under any circumstances. So
I definitely agree with that. Do not give out your social security card number. Sometimes you'll have sites that will ask you for verification to repeat the last 4 digits on the social, and that would be to verify they already have that information. And they're wanting you to verify as the person who's using or calling in. But if someone calls you and asks for that information, I agree 100%. I would definitely not tell anyone my social security number. Sometimes I've had forms where I've had to put that in to register for something. But that's something that I'm electing to do rather. If someone, I think, and that to me, my personal comfort, that's the difference. If I'm seeking something out and applying for it, and part of that process is that I have to submit my social security number, then okay, it seems like that's the natural way of doing it. But if someone's calling me asking for it, that's when it's a, whoa, hold up. Because that is a way, if people have your social, that they can access your information online. They can hack you. So thank you for bringing up that point. It's really good. I think if you're saying something else, Ms. Farron, you are muted right now.
I was just mentioning, I talked to my bank about it. They will not mail me, nor will my financial planner send me anything with my social on it through the mail even. So I just don't bother messing with it. And I guess that's because I'm older and maybe I've been around situations longer, or I'm not as trusting.
Art, did you?
Yeah. You'll notice when you did your taxes, if you got a 1099 from a bank or somebody, in the box that would show the social security number, it will only show the last 4 digits. So everybody is, I mean, the financial institutions are very sensitive to protecting your social security number too. The one thing that it scares me about Google saving passwords is that if you leave your computer on and somehow or other somebody gets to your computer and they're pretty savvy, they can go on Google and they can find your bank, because fortunately or unfortunately, I bookmark everything. So, I mean, I could get to my bank and start writing checks in a matter of seconds. The only thing that protects me is the PIN to start the computer. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't use Google the way I use it. And I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, because that's the the real lock and key, so to speak, of getting to your computer. If you're using your computer in the user friendliest way, I think, is making sure that you lock things up by using the PIN to at least get started. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, Rebecca, but that's the way I do it.
I think it's a really good point. Certainly if your device has been left on and someone gets a hold of it and then they go to a site that you have your password and your username saved on, then they could log into that. It's true. So that's why one thing that I would say, like perhaps like with your bank account, that each site, every time when you create a new password or update your password, there's a little dialogue when you use Google Chrome. There's a little dialogue box that pops up and it asks you if they want you to save the password for this site. And so there's some sites that I would say, just tell it no. And you have to either remember that password or have it written down and know where that is. And your bank may be one of those places. On my phone, the bank app, I have to, every time I go to log into it, I have to put my password in. So I can definitely appreciate, wanting to keep that secure. But like I said, like, say I go to my yoga journal account. It's, to me, I'd rather have the computer save that. So just as soon as I click on there, it just loads up and it opens to my account. So, picking your battles as far as what you feel you need to have the most privacy on. But yes, just as you described, are, completely turning it off and then having to put in the password to start it, or PIN, depending on, the type of device. One thing that I will definitely say is, if you are on a public device, if you go to the library to use, always don't let it save any passwords, and always log out when you're finished with your session. Sometimes people just have a tendency to kind of just walk away. I've seen that at the library. You have to log out. You have to log out of your Google. The libraries have it set up so that everything gets dumped at the end of the day. All the information that was, done on the computer, like all those kind of things, save the passwords, etc., usernames. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure, if you're using any kind of public device, if it's at a workplace, whatever, that you're logging out at the end of your session to keep your information safe.
Rebecca?
Yes.
My last job at a public library, at our information desk, we did shifts, and quite often one of the other librarians who was there earlier than I forgot to log out of her, in those days it was probably bigger, Yahoo account. So, so that's one thing I guess I would mention to folks, especially if you're at a library, not only to log out of the library, I know if we all use county library, South Euclid, where, we know how that works, you're supposed to log out. But even before that, say you're in your email, I would tell you to take that extra step and log out, make sure you've closed out of your own personal email as well, because what would happen at the library, my working place, is I would hop on to Yahoo, and there would be Janelle's account. She happened to be another librarian who used Yahoo. They would, and it took me a couple of times to figure that out. And of course, she wouldn't have messed with my stuff, or I with her, but it just was a really good learning lesson to, when I go to the library, usually because I don't have a good printer here, it's to print something maybe off my email, so make sure I log out of Yahoo first and then log out of my library account, just to be totally sure. Now, I will tell you that the libraries, they have software that's supposed to be erasing all that in between logouts at the end of the day. I'm sure it's gotten better over the years, or I'm assuming it has, because I've been retired for a number of years now. But yeah, I would just wanted to give that little speech just because of my own experience. Just always, log out of every screen that you have open, especially your email, or before you log out of the library account.
Thank you for sharing and pointing out that distinction. It isn't just the session at the end. It's logging out of that each individual place that you've accessed. Yes, thank you for reinforcing that. I too have been in a public situation where I've walked up to use a computer and it's open into someone else's email and they're nowhere around. And I just think, whoa. So, you know, I go ahead and log them out, right? And carry on, but someone else may not. So you have to be really careful and make sure that you do log out of your sessions when you're using a public device or even a shared device. You know what I'm saying? Depending on who's got access to what. I'm going to jump back in here. Did anybody else have anything? Okay, I'm going to jump back in here. We're going to do that as our practice at the end. Pop-ups. These have become less and less of a thing if you have it set to block pop-ups on your device. But I can just remember a time when there were just, before they started with the blocking, that there would just be all these endless pop-ups on the device. And a lot of times these are a scam. It's really recommended, and I'm going to show you when we go into the privacy and security after we go through the slides, where to block pop-ups on Google Chrome. But if you get, sometimes you'll be at a site and it's something that you want to do, and they're sending you a pop-up to complete a form or whatever it is. But you can individually select. It'll give you an option. It's up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen next to that overflow settings menu. There's a little sort of blobby looking thing, and it'll ask you, allow pop-ups from this site. And then you can say yes. And if you do happen to get one that slips through, only click on a pop-up from a site that you trust. This is a very common way that malware is sent. So do be wary of any pop-ups that just come unbidden onto your screen. And I just close them down quick as they come. Again, we're going to look at that in our practice, blocking them. I've mentioned on this previously. I know we had some questions with the memory stuff. For your device, you have to do all of the system updates. Now, I want to point out there's a difference between app updates and system updates. So a system update is for your entire operating system. If that's a Microsoft Windows update, or if it's, you know, from Samsung or from Apple, that overarching system, that overarching platform that your device is running on. You have to do those if you want your device to run properly. You'll get updates for individual apps, and you can choose whether or not you want to do them. A lot of times they're just cosmetic, but sometimes they do contain these patches, and the app is not going to function as well. And over time, if you pile up not updating over a while, that app just isn't going to work as efficiently. Sometimes we like the layout of a program and then they change it and it's like, I don't like it this new way, but I've trained myself that I have to kind of adapt, because if you don't do those updates, it just isn't going to run as well. Also have mentioned this, but it bears repeating. You can remove history from your personal device, so it won't be seen in the search, but it will still be on the network servers. Just FYI. We're going to look at that today when we go in, where it's located in settings, and you can delete individual items, a whole subject, or a period of time, or the whole thing, the whole search history if you want. But it's always still on the server's record. These cookies are generally pretty safe. If you have an older device, Cookies can slow down your device. If your device is running slow, every time you try to go to a site and you get the little spinning circle, it might be time to clear out your cookies and your cache. What a cookie is not a real cookie, don't we wish? But when you go to a website, it creates a little file that's sent to your computer that it remembers you by. So the next time you go, everything loads up really quickly. This is one place where passwords and usernames are one way that they're saved. And also the imaging information that's on that website, it'll all be saved. And so it'll load much more quickly the next time you go back. There was a lawsuit out of California pretty recently, within the past handful of years, where people were concerned about how much information about them was being saved by different sites through this cookie process. And so that's why we've begun to see, when we go to websites, if we accept the fact that they're getting a cookie, or making a cookie rather. And generally we just say, yeah, click accept, and we keep moving. But there are ways that you can go in and sort of select how much information you want that website to be able to store on you. So you can modify it, certainly. And it's a two-way street. It's having the cookie helps you get onto the website quicker, but it's also, it's true that that web page and or business is now has some basic information about you, their consumer. So there are two sides to it. And if you're very concerned about privacy, you may want to decline those cookies. When you go on an incognito page, no cookies or history is saved from that. And again, through the settings. I do want to talk about PayPal. People that have concerns about buying things online, PayPal is a really nice option to give an added layer of safety. It's free to you as the user to use PayPal, but they charge the business kind of like a credit card does to use their service. So that's how they make their money. And I'm sure there's other advertising things that go along with it. But how PayPal works, PayPal has your bank information, just not like your routing number or something, but just like your credit card that you store with them that you want to use to pay for things. So when you go to a site and you use PayPal to pay, that website never actually sees your bank account information. They get paid by you through PayPal. So all that, the only information that that website has access to is sort of like the PayPal version of you, and they never get the actual card number or access to your personal information. Obviously, they will have an address if they're sending you something, but they never have actual access to your actual credit card or debit card number. There have been hacks in PayPal. It's very secure, but there have been hacks. But it's kind of like the same thing where if you get, if there's a bad claim, you have 60 days to make a claim on that, and get that taken back and get paid back. You will get an email every time that your PayPal is used. So you will know straight away if there's been, something that you didn't authorize happening through your PayPal account. And you'll certainly see on your bank statement as well. So I myself have never had a problem with PayPal. I am not saying that no one has ever not had a problem with PayPal, but it's it's generally viewed as very safe. And it's a good sort of way to protect your personal information. Okay. that's the last slide. I'm going to come out of here. Does anyone have any questions right now or comments? Okay, we're going to press on. We're
I
going
have
to,
one question.
please, ma'am.
So if you have, say you have 2 laptops and you go in and you clear your cookies or your history or whatever, that's going to be over both devices, correct? Or would it just be on the device that you went into settings?
It depends on what you're using.
Okay.
If you're using Google Chrome,
Mhm.
that if this, what you've cleared through Google Chrome is going to go across devices, yes. But if you're using it, if you're like going onto a different browser, I don't know that it goes across devices.
Okay.
I have a question.
Please.
I was, when I was signing on, I could not sign on my laptop, which is, it's not in the best condition, but I went to my Gmail so that I could get the information. It wasn't there. So I went to my Gmail on my phone, and that's how I'm able to talk with you. I don't understand why it's not on my, I got the same Gmail account, but it comes up on the phone, but it doesn't come up on the laptop.
I'm not sure. I'm wondering, some people have had that the email that it has the registration information goes into their spam folder. So maybe check there on your laptop, but I don't know why between Gmail and Gmail on different devices, why it would be in one and not the other. That surprises me. I don't quite know the answer to that.
Well, let me ask you this. Can you have, my computer is old. So is it possible that maybe I need to delete some emails in order for that one to pop up? I mean, how many things can you actually have on your computer before it just doesn't report some or doesn't connect, but it's the same email? It's the only email I have. So I kind of got on here about 5 or 10 minutes later than I needed to, because I really wanted to do the laptop. So,
Well, the thing about as far as your computer being old and, you know, do you need to delete some of the emails, that wouldn't really affect, because where your inbox and the emails in your inbox, that's stored like in a cloud. That's not dependent on how much memory you do or don't have on your actual computer. So
okay.
yeah, that's it. It shouldn't, I'm surprised, it shouldn't really be different between the Gmail on your phone and the Gmail on your laptop, what's showing in your inbox. So I'm just surprised. I'm making a note to look into this, and I will reach back out to you after I find out more.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let me jot down. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. So this is a Google tab. I just have this background set on my own personal. And in the upper right-hand corner is the overflow menu. this is, oh, wait. Excuse me, I misspoke. When I said that this was where the pop-up thing was, and that's actually extensions. Excuse me on that. When I'm remembering it now, when there is that option to actually say, I want to allow this site to give me a pop-up, there's a little sort of thing that pops up here in this corner. It's not there all the time. FYI. Anyway, back over here to this overflow menu. I'm going to go down to settings. This is for Google Chrome. Okay, so this is not my computer. This is Google as a browser settings. And then here, this is my personal account. So this is RebeccaColors@gmail is my normal regular life. But I have some different options here on the left-hand side. And you'll see this first one, and it's in the middle, but the full menu is here on the left-hand side. But if I choose autofill, so that comes up to the top, I can come here on passwords, and there's a list here of all of the different websites. And I'm not going to go too far down because I don't want to show everybody all my stuff. But there's a list here of all the websites that I have saved on my computer, what my username is in that website. And then the password here, as you see, is not visible. But if I click on the little eye icon here, it will show it to me. So that's one way, if you can't remember what a password is, where you can find out what it was. And here I have more actions in the overflow menu on each line. So let's say I'm done with Ace Fitness. I could remove it. I could choose to copy the password. Say it's not letting me in, I can't remember. And so I go back to my master list here stored on my computer, and I just copy, cut, and paste it. Oops, cancel that. Or I can edit it. So I have some options there, but if I want to remove something from my saved, that's one way that I can do that. Let's go back. We also had payment methods. So this is going to show any cards that I have saved.
Rebecca?
Yes, Art.
I don't know why it would be different. You didn't actually show any of your passwords on my machine, and I don't know if I did it or if it's just the way my machine is set up. But you know, I'm a Microsoft Windows 10. When I go to look at the password on that list that you just showed, I can't look at it until I put my PIN in. It asked me to put my PIN in order to look at it, which also gives me a little comfort that if somebody was looking at my computer, they couldn't really look up. They could actually, it's kind of interesting. They could click on things and get into them, but if they wanted to actually see the password, they couldn't see the password without knowing what the PIN was.
That seems like it's a really good idea.
It is, and I don't know if it's just because it's a Windows 10 thing that they do with Google Chrome, or I just don't know. I'm not suggesting you do that, you know.
So I want to show you what just happened for me.
Okay.
I went back to my password section, and here we'll use my Ace Fitness account again. So it shows me my username straight up, RebeccaColors@gmail.
Right.
And then I have my little eye show the password before I have to confirm it.
Oh,
So there is a layer built in there.
okay. But that, so that isn't quite as useful as my setup because I only have to remember my PIN.
Yeah,
Well, everything's different in this world.
that's true.
We're all a little nuts. Okay.
But I was, yeah, when I first was saying that, and I think I was mistaken. I was thinking if I clicked on that, it was just going to show me,
Yeah.
but it
yeah.
doesn't. You have to confirm it first. So that's a little, and now that we're doing it,
So these are not saved.
okay.
Because
Oh, okay. So once you confirmed it, then it showed it.
So my confirmation was not the password of each individual site. It was the password of my Chromebook, effectively the same thing as your PIN.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
oh, let me try that. Okay.
So are we saying your PIN, what you use when you turn on your
Device.
device?
Yes.
And Art, are you saying that is what you put in when you turn on your Windows 10? That's your PIN?
When I have this same screen up, when I'm trying to figure out, I have a separate list too, but I don't have it. If I don't have it handy, and I'm on my computer downstairs. I'm too lazy to go upstairs to find the password. If I click on the little eye, it won't give me the password. It'll ask me for the PIN to start the computer. When I put the PIN in, then it will display what the password is for that particular website.
Okay, so my confusion is when you use the term PIN, that's what to me, I consider that a password when I'm turning on my computer.
Oh, it is. It really is.
Okay, so that's what you're using,
Yeah. I mean, they use two different words. That's I don't know exactly.
okay, I just didn't know if you had set up something different that you're calling it.
That's
Okay.
what the geniuses in Microsoft do.
Okay, all
Or
right.
the devils there. You could take your pick.
I'm really
Okay.
grateful to be having this conversation because there are some variances between operating systems. My device that I'm working on is a Chromebook. So it's completely set up to work through Google. And I think we've seen through the course of these sessions, like sometimes there's some things that happen automatically on my Chromebook that people who have other types of devices have to take one additional step to get to that place. So yeah, I'm certainly not purporting to be an expert on each individual system. So I hope that people, will understand that it's,
Rebecca, one of my understanding, I am not an expert. It's way above my pay grade. My pay is really low when it comes to this stuff. But my understanding of Google Chromebooks is that they don't really do calculations at the device level. That everything basically is done in the cloud, so to speak. That was my understanding.
well, there are like you can save things to the device, and there are things that are like if you make a file and save it to your device, that's like specifically saved to your device.
Right.
But yes, the basic operation is through the Google Cloud system.
So you're always basically you're doing calculations. You're always on the internet, basically.
I could turn my Wi-Fi off.
So can you use your computer like to do Word or Excel?
So I can log into OneDrive,
Okay,
and that gives me the cloud version of Word and Excel.
okay, so a lot, you don't have the programs loaded on your machine. The calculations come from the cloud, basically. The software is in the cloud.
No, well, so the word processing system that I use on this device is Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets.
Okay,
So the word suite, I would have to like download that onto my computer, onto my Chromebook.
okay.
Um,
Yeah,
but I
we-
use Google Docs.
I got into, I don't want to use up a lot of class time, but I got into using Google Docs only when I was working with multiple people who were constantly sharing the same data.
Mhm.
And we did that through, I don't know if it was Docs or no, it was Google, something else. I forget what it is. I know if I saw it, I'd recognize it. Where everyone, it was sort of like it being, you were in a Google network and everybody could share your one document in the network, and people could see changes, etc.
And that's why it's so great to use for collaboration.
Yeah. Okay. But at the same token, you don't have to share it if you, so you elect to use it, but you don't necessarily use it in a collaboration mode. You just use it for your own word processing.
Well, like, for example, I can do either, but like when I send out the link to the slides presentations for the sessions, those are Google Slides, and I send those to you guys as a view only.
Mhm.
So you can click on that link. You could send that link to anyone that you wanted to, and they could click on it and access the slide presentation, but they can't change it.
Right.
It's a view only file. I could change the setting and have it be a collaborate file. And then you would be able, whoever has that link and viewing it, they can then make suggestions, and they would pop up like a little dialog box on the side of the file and say, hey, maybe you should think about adding blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Or I could set it as editor, and then whoever had that setting link could open the file and make any changes they want.
Gotcha.
So,
The only problem with what you send, I like to have a hard copy, and I am burning down trees left and right with the size of, each one is a page. So, but that's okay.
are on, everything's good. And that was safety check right here. Then privacy and security, you're going down the list. And this is where I keep talking about cookies, cache, clearing history. So if I go into clear browsing data, I can select the different things that I would want to potentially. I could clear my download history. I could clear cookies from these sites. I have cached images. That's part of the cookie thing because it's saving those images for when I go back on again. And then you could also select these other items if you wanted to clear them out. That's advanced. Can go to basic and just clear my browsing history, clear my cookies, or clear my cache. Again, if your computer is running really slow, you may want to go in and clear out the cookies and the cache. It will definitely speed up the response time.
One real quick question. This is a separate and distinct cleaning function as opposed to going through disk cleaner, with, part of the file browser. When if you do new properties on one of your files, your C file or your D file or whatever, you could do a disk cleanup.
Yes.
That's different. Is that correct? Or does that do the same thing that this does? I wouldn't have a.
No, they're totally different. That's why I was saying this is just for
The
Google Chrome.
Okay.
You can do that kind of a clearing on your device that you're talking about, where you do that on disk C or D, and you can defrag, and you can clear up clutter, you can like consolidate files, and that it's a similar function, but that's on the hardware of your computer. Did someone else say something?
I'm looking at advanced in the, I guess it's privacy, or where you have the cookies and everything.
Yep.
I'm not sure what box I'm in. Advanced clear browsing data. So some of the terminology, though I'm on the advanced. And my question is, some of the terminology I don't quite get. So if I wanted to clear the download history, how would that be different than site settings? For example, I really like that I can, at the bottom of my screen, every morning, I look at Yahoo, I look at Google News, I look at my email account, my Yahoo, I look at the Boston Globe, I look at the Guardian, I do my I have those little things on the bottom. I can just go from one to the other. So I don't want to clear those out, but I don't know whether if I clicked on site settings, it says I have 68 sites. Would that get rid of everything I want, that convenience? Same thing with the download history. I had a cache. She wanted me to clear my cache. I had a whole nother issue I won't bore you with. And so she had me do that. I had no idea what I was doing. So I lost pretty much everything, that I had, that to me was convenient. I had to sort of start all over with what my desktop looked like. So can you explain to me what download history would be as opposed to site settings, so I can figure out what I want to keep or not, or what I don't want to keep? Does that make sense?
Yes. So like specifically your download history would be anything that you have downloaded to your device. So if you'll notice, like at the top here, I have this time range, and it's set on mine for just, this was the auto that popped up the last hour. If I went into the last 4 weeks, my download history changed from 0 items to 46 items.
Okay.
Right? So those are things that I've actually downloaded to my computer. My browsing history is things that I've looked up in Google.
Okay.
The cookies are the files that are created when I went to a site. And that was how, excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of this tea. Excuse me. That's how that site is remembering my device for the next time that I went. The cached images are the images that my device is remembering from the websites that I visited, so that the next time I go, it will load much more quickly. Passwords are passwords. I think we know what that is. The autofill form data are the things that are in that just pop up, like I want to go sign a petition, and I click in the first screen field that says name, and a little dialog box appears that says Rebecca, and then I click on it, and then all the other ones fill up. So if you know what I'm talking about, that's autofill. And then the site settings are the way that you have certain sites set up, the way that you want them to appear, or what the controls that you want to have on them. And so if we look at my last 4 weeks of computer use, I have 12 places that I've gone and set them up to be a certain way that I want them to be. And I probably don't want to get rid of that. Because just like you say, the convenience of using your device, I don't want to get rid of. That's why my device is pretty new and I don't have a problem with speed, and I'm really glad, because I don't want to clear my cookies on my cache, because just like you said, you have to start over from zero again. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Like that's why, you know, it's like it's striking that balance between privacy and security and ease of use and the device working properly. So, and the older your device is, the more you have to consistently clear out the cookies in the cache. That's something that, like, on newer things, it seems to just be a more seamless process. Why that is,
Yes.
yes,
Sorry.
that's okay. I thought someone else was saying something. That's why, you know, it can be a little challenging. But I lost track of where I was going with that. I'm sorry. But yes, I know I don't want to clear them out either.
Okay.
So this was the next setting there, cookies and other site data. So I can go in and say, if I want to just say I allow all cookies, that's not what I want to do. But it's set that this is sort of the preset, so that when I go incognito, that's that private screen, that it doesn't save the cookies. Do I want to block third-party cookies? That would be like a secondary site. I'm on a site and I click on something to go to another place that's interesting from that first site. So maybe, do I want to block their cookies and not the original place that I went? Maybe. I could see someone wanting to do that. I could block all, but then my computer's just not going to be very easy to use, as Ms. Rothman was just pointing out. You could have it clear every time when you leave. It, you know, depending. I have this preload is on for sure. But that you can like have these individually, and then you can add selected sites to always clear the cookies, or that can always use, or can never use. So you can manually put those in. So these are some other protection settings. I would say don't ever do no protection. I should probably have enhanced protection on. I'm going to see if that changes how I use my computer. I'll let you know.
Yeah, could you, I'm looking and I have standard. I wonder if that's how they set it up with standard.
That's the
Can you let
preset.
us know whether we should?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it must be, because I haven't refreshed. So let us know if advanced really does with operation, please.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
And site settings is the last one where you can actually, we're at 3 o'clock. If anyone needs to go, please. And I'm sorry that we ran over. But this is where you give certain this is where the pop-ups are located, and then there's different permissions. Mine are basically all ask before accessing. For me, the location is important. I don't want every single website that I go to know where I'm accessing them from. So that to me is like a tracking that's unnecessary. I always have it ask for the camera and the mic because I don't want to get caught out with not knowing that I'm on cam or not knowing that my microphone is on. So I have those before a site can access my stuff. They have to ask me first. I don't like a lot of push notifications. I find it to be annoying. That's when you get those little pop-ups that remind you that something is happening or that a new product is being sold by this company. So they have to ask me if they want to send those to me too. And I pretty much always say no. So those are all in the permissions under site settings. There's more, you can go and look. But then here, the pop-ups and the redirects, and those are set on blocked. If I did like this, now they're allowed. But you really, these are two sites that I go to frequently, the AmeriCorps and this, the pandemic. And they have pop-ups that I have said it's okay, they can put them there because I know that site is safe and I go there and I want to access those pop-ups. So it, like when the first time when it happened, a little dialog box popped up on my screen and asked me, do you want to allow this pop-up? And I said yes. But for the most part, I have it on no. And then I don't have any sites like that I manually went in and said, never allow this to give me pop-ups, but you could. I feel like I've been talking a lot. I hope that this was helpful. Does anyone have any questions or want me to review anything else?
This is, well, it's not that I have any questions, but unfortunately, because I was not able to put this on my laptop, I basically missed everything because my screen on this phone, not you while I'm looking at you, but the screen, I tried everything to make it larger. I couldn't see any of it. I mean, it was so tiny, 20/20 vision couldn't have seen it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do because I'm still very much excited. What I could hear was good information, but unfortunately, I don't know what Google Chrome is and all that. I mean, I'm just like, you know, like I shared with you, I'm such a beginner on this. I tap into the basics, but I don't know if Google Chrome is on here. I don't know if I had a password, forgot it. I don't know. So I don't know what you want to do with me, but I'm just like lost here. Totally.
Well, Miss Janet, hey, if you can hang back and stay with me, we can like have a conversation about it after, if other people have like some more quick questions, and we can try to set up, maybe there's someone who could give you some one-on-one assistance. But can you hold on? Can you stay on the Zoom for a little while longer?
Yes, I can. It'd be my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I also want to say, and it jogged me, I'm really thankful for that comment that you just made, because this is one operating system, right? This is Google Chrome, one browsing system, I should say. So if you're going through a different, if you're using Safari or if you're using Edge, they have their own setup through settings that has these very similar privacy settings, but they may have, their screen may look slightly different, and it's not all, each system isn't going to be set up exactly the same way, but it's generally the same. So they all have settings and they all have a privacy and security. And then your device itself, give me 1 second, Art, I want to hear what you have to say. Your device itself also has security in its settings. So there's sort of two places that you can look at this from: your device operating system and your browser. Art.
I was going to say that Edge, Microsoft Edge, is almost identical to Google Chrome.
Okay.
In fact, I was when you if you go on to Microsoft Edge, which is given to you if you have a Windows 10 machine, it's part of Windows, built into Windows 10, I believe. You can and you have a setup in Chrome where you have favorite websites, and you have earmarks, and you have all these things set up for your convenience. You can copy those with the push of a button. Just about. You can copy all of those over to Edge. Microsoft gave up. They just copied Google, basically. But that was just in response to the fact that these are separate operating systems for internet, basically internet operations, or using outside networks. Maybe that's another way of looking at it. If you want to share with people outside of your home, and that gets a little sophisticated. The thing I was wondering about, are we going to cover things like virus protection, software for virus protection, or malware protection? Are we going to get into that as part of one of our sessions?
I don't have that set right now, but it's a really good idea, and it really should have probably been in this session. But
that's what when you said passwords and security, I said, oh boy. I mean, I've learned by aggravation and terror that you need to have that stuff. And I think malware is almost as important. Yeah, it's important. I bought this malware, I forget what it's called, Malwarebytes, I think. And it's a very inexpensive, especially having multiple devices. I think it's like $25 for 3 devices. And it also helps with pop-ups a lot. It'll really eliminates pop-ups. But anyway, I just was curious if we were gonna do it. I have a contract with a third-party techie through September on my virus protection, and I know I'm going to need new protection. The stuff I have now is it's really bad gorillas, it's called. And it's good stuff, but I'm going to have to replace it. I'm really curious, if you have some suggestions along that line for down the road. But it was a good session. I think that you're walking through the settings and the things you can do. Flexibility with Google Chrome, it's amazing. That's just an amazing. You can live your life through there, basically. It's pretty terrific stuff.
it's true. So, and I think that using Google Chrome on a Chromebook, there's just a lot of built-in firewalls that kind of take care of a lot of that protection stuff. But there are different software programs that you can purchase, and additionally, as Art has mentioned, the Bad Gorillas, McAfee is another, Avast is another. I'm going to do a little research into some of these, and I'll send out an email sometime over before our next class. But you can purchase this sort of safeguarding software that watches, and it's like it provides an additional it's called a firewall on your device that protects you from viruses, malware, and as Art was saying, like those pop-ups that can often contain those things. Some have free versions that give a basic protection, and then there's some that have that you pay and get extra. I think the concept of having this built into the browser as having more advanced firewalls just built in kind of started with Mozilla Firefox. Was a browser that came out several years ago, but when it came out, it was like the most advanced as far as security, that browser that there was. And I think Google kind of built on that concept as they developed Chrome. And when you said Microsoft just gave up and copied them, I think in some ways they kind of had to, because it had become so ubiquitous that it was like a matter of they have to be able to work together, just because it was the dominant system, the dominant selling system. So, but I'm going to look into those types of additional security programs that you can buy. Or there's some that have free versions.
I have to leave. There is some kind of virus protection that's built into Windows 10. I can't remember the name of it anymore. I mean, everyone that has Windows 10 has it. I'm just not sure how good it is.
Yeah.
You might, if you could maybe just take a look at that, you know, I would appreciate it. And maybe some of the other folks that are going to have to really deal with this virus protection thing. The problem is, guys, there are a lot of very bright, crazy young people out there throughout the globe, everywhere. There's probably 1 million of them or more sitting around trying to figure out how to rob you. This is the honest to God truth.
It is true.
Because they got nothing better to do, apparently. They have nothing productive to do, and they're very skillful, and they're very collegial. They work together, and if there's a way, I mean, we see it with our own government gets hacked. So we need to be very careful about this. And if you have your banking and, you know, and your personal information, you get hacked. I got hacked on my old email account, and it was like somebody, it hurt. It really did. It's like, it's hard to explain. I wouldn't want anybody out there to go through the experience, frankly. So security is really important. It's really important. You're exposed there because there's not much protecting you from these people that want to get you. And I don't think I'm being paranoid by saying this. Well, maybe I am. I don't know.
I don't think that you're being paranoid at all. I mean, it certainly happens all the time that people get hacked, and there are people that like literally that's what they're doing kind of as their job is to be a hacker. This is like, they're just trying to like fleece as many, people as they can. It's certainly true. And so you do have to like you do have to be aware of it and do the things like logging out when you're done, on a common device especially. But we kind of saw, especially when we did that little passwords thing, when we went into the passwords through the Google Chrome settings, like I couldn't just click that and see it. I had to have my system operating password to be put in. And even when I put that in, it didn't show it. I don't know if anybody caught that. It was just the ... And then once I put that in, then it showed me for that individual website that I was looking for what that password was for that one. But my operating system password was never exposed. So I know what that is because I turn my device on every day, right? But yeah, so there are safety guards built in. Just like I said, when you have your credit card stored, it's not going to let you use that credit card unless you can put in the CVV number. So there's some safety checks, but yeah, I would recommend to everyone, and I personally, my bank password is different and my username on my bank is different from all the regular ones that I use for my day-to-day stuff. So I would definitely take that extra step with my banking. And then if you know, I don't have any investments, but like if you had something like that was like tied to your money, like anything like that, like those ones I would definitely make them different. So, all right.
Take care.
All
See you
right.
tomorrow, right?
See you tomorrow. God willing. Goodbye, Miss Janetta. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Folks, take care. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Reiser. Be well.
Same to you. Bye-bye.